Okay, good morning again, everyone. Selamat pagi semua. This is the briefing for September 2023 for FYP2, final year project 2, as well as undergraduate seminars. So my purpose for today is not just to present or cover about FYP, but also about the undergraduate seminar, which affects almost all of you, those especially, to be precise, those of you who are registered under the subject code with the letter N. FYP2 is MBFP MBFP 3028. So MBFP 3028 is the subject code for almost all of you, except for 2 students. The rest of you are under the N code, new grading system. So you should also be taking, in addition to FYP2, the subject called undergraduate seminar. Right, so today I will explain to you about FYP2, a bit in terms of certain specific requirements and suggestions and areas for you to pay attention to while you are finalizing and completing your FYP report this semester. And then I will also cover about the nature and also requirement of the subject undergraduate seminar. Right, so let me begin. I always have this problem with Microsoft Teams. I will not be able to see the screen. So I hope if you have any one of you, your friends cannot get in. But by right, you should, because I've invited you to the meeting. So you should be able to get into the meeting directly without me, without the need for me to add you manually. Okay, so let me begin by sharing my slides first about FYP2. I will provide you with the slides after this, but let me explain first, and you take note of a couple of things, and then later on, when I distribute the slides, you can refer back specifically to any points that you may have missed. All right, so this is FYP2 briefing, September 2023 semester. Like I said just now, we have in total 17 students registered for FYP2. 15 of you should also take undergraduate seminar in addition to FYP2 this semester. Right, so I will explain first about FYP. Now, my objectives, these are my brief objectives. These are the general objectives of the briefing today, to highlight a few common errors in FYP report submission, to explain and propose arrangement for FYP Viva presentations, and to remind all of you about the submission deadlines and also requirements at the end of the semester. All right. First thing, covering common errors, is to look into the issue of formatting. Now, you should be able to refer yourself the assessment rubric for FYP. You have this in your guideline or in the handbook for FYP. So you look into that in terms of what is the requirement in terms of the format, font size, font type, and so on. So I'm just showing you over here the general example, but this is actually research proposal referring back to RM, research methodology class, but you can go further down into the guideline. You can look into find a page specifically for the format for FYP, which should be the same. All right, so this is how it looks in terms of the general guideline or requirement, how the page or cover page for your FYP report needs to be. Just to go straight away in case I forget later on. Nowadays, when it comes to FYP submission, everything is submitted online, soft copy. There is no need anymore for you to print. No need also to definitely also we are not requiring you to print or bind using hardcover or anything like that. Even when it comes to our archival records in the library, we are keeping everything soft copy. Okay. Now, first thing you need to look into when it comes to the cover page is to look into the logo. Right, now we actually have a new logo for UOW Malaysia, which we are imposing or enforcing for everyone to use starting from this semester. In fact, it should have been used since the start of the year, but so maybe this was not reminded very clearly previously. So I would like to make this clear for everyone for FYP when you submit later on in the end semester, please change or revise the logo over here. Don't use the logo with the KDU letters at the bottom of the word Malaysia over there. Use the current logo as you can see over here. Again, I repeat, I will give you the slide later on. Please screenshot this logo and put this into your cover page for FYP. There's no KDU anymore. It's just UOW Malaysia. Should you use dark blue or mono? I would say the more practical one is to use mono because we're not asking anyone to print. We're not requiring you to print your FYP report in color. So use mono features would be okay. All right, so if you refer back to the what is stated over here, inverted pyramid structure. So how does an inverted pyramid structure looks like? It looks like this. Basically, it is an upside down triangle. So try as best as you can to arrange the title of your FYP to a shape like this. It doesn't have to be in perfect slant or straight line on the sides, but at least it should look like an inverted pyramid. And then the rest, please follow as stated over here. Okay, so this is the correct way of doing it. This is a correct example. This one also. Right now, what I would like to standardize, again, this is something that we may not have been very particular about. Look into the template over here. Full name is in caps, in block letters, and it's actually italic. So please follow this. So in that case, actually, this is wrong or not complete. So this is the name, but put it in italics. And then over here also, this one is actually wrong, right? Maybe you should have cut her marks before, but then this is a minor thing. But then still, would be nice for you to follow exactly to the letter every single requirement. But this is, however, a very nicely shaped inverted pyramid. Looks extremely straight. And then just this one, the name ought to be in all caps, and it shouldn't be any distance between or line spacing between the name and also the your student ID. Actually, there is a spacing over there, right? So you can follow like that and follow this. Yeah, so in a way, senior is correct, but then the spacing over here is double space. It could be a bit closer than that. Right. One common error that we often see students, because you probably are taking examples and hopefully you're not copying, but taking examples of FYP report from your seniors. So the year stated at the bottom is previous years, not this year. It's 2022, sometimes as far back as 2020 or 2019. So please, that is a very glaring error on your part if you have that not updated. So you are submitting this at the end of the year, so it's still the year 2023. So make sure you update that. So next, so these are some examples of mistakes that are often seen. This is obviously something that is clearly not following the requirement that is stated, not just in terms of the font size and the font type. Font type, I think, is correct, Times New Roman, but it's just the font size is not correct. And definitely this is a big mistake, right? You put over here, you put the logo UOW, but you put the name over there, KDU University College. So again, it raises a lot of suspicion on our parts as examiner when we see something like this, whether or not you have, copied or recycled or taken any examples of past research from seniors and just submit that as your own with some changes over here and there to beat the system, to beat the Turnitin system. But then when we see something glaring like this, which is something difficult for any logical explanation other than you have taken this from some other former students before. So that's not going to be good, even though we may not have evidence that you have copied, but it raises a lot of suspicion. And, your examiners are human beings. So when they see something like this, they would start to think in a rather negative way that, thinking that maybe there's something that is a bit fishy. in terms of, you know, what is being submitted over here. Your suspicion becomes bigger of certain types of crimes or malpractice has been committed. So please get away from all of that. Try and do as best as you can so that everything that we do over here reflects the original independent work that you are doing. Okay. All right, so this is also another example. What is the mistake over here is not inverted pyramid. And then the spacing also for the title should not be like this. So again, you go back to the example that I've shown just now and look back at the template given as well. Okay, so this is wrong. Now, the other thing that I would like to see some level of, more widespread uniformity or similarity in terms of format is the abstract. Now, again, some of you may have inherited FYP reports from your seniors and so on, so you saw different ways on how they presented the abstract. So let's try to move away from whatever example that you saw, follow this one format that I'm going to explain to you for the abstract. How do you write that? So we follow this in general. Organization, the abstract should be between 200 to 250 words. So that is about, I would say, maximum 1 page if it's double spaced. But we're not doing a double space, it should be single line spacing. And 200 to 250 words should be 1 page or 1 paragraph should be more than enough. So please abstract 1 paragraph only, right? If you don't know how it looks like, so it looks like something like this. Right, so this is how the abstract should be. Put in the information, title, author, degree, major, and then the abstract, the entire thing should be in 1 paragraph as stated over here. And I also would like to emphasize that you need to put in keywords, right? Put in your keywords over here. Now, please, abstract is something which is fairly easy to do because it's just basically a summary of your whole research. I normally suggest abstract is to be written last, not first, because it's a summary of your project that you have completed, not something that you have not done yet. It's not the proposal stage. This is already at the point of completion, and it's already completed. So please, write this at the end, right? After you have done all your other steps in doing the research. Especially at this stage now, you're focusing on data collection, data analysis, and then you write your conclusion and so on. Because part of the abstract should also cover those things, right? Cover some information that explains briefly about your data collection methods, about your sampling, about your results analysis, interpretation, and also recommendation. You can fit in all of that in 1 paragraph because this is just basically a summary. What you don't need to do is to add elaboration, right? There's no need to put in, like, for example, this, for example, that, or share any numbers in terms of statistics that you got. All those things are not supposed to be here in the abstract. The most that you can put in terms of your abstract, in terms of specific numbers, would be your sample size. That one, it's okay. Right? As stated over here in this research, this is qualitative for participants, right? So it's stated over here clearly there are 4 respondents or subject in the research. So if you are doing quantitative, you can mention also a survey was done with 100 people or 100 respondents. That one you can mention, but the rest you don't have to. Any other numbers not necessary, right? So look into this example. Of course, you can also look at other examples, like when you come across any journal articles from Google Scholar or from any other academic online resources. Look into the whole structure and format of the journal article. Almost all journal articles would have on the first page the abstract, and you will see the abstract would normally look something like this. It's only 1 paragraph. Right? So please, even if you may have seen examples from seniors in the past where the abstract was a bit longer, double space, or maybe added with tables or anything like that, please, no need for that. Follow this simple format for abstract. Now, please, especially those of you who are really eyeing for good grades for FYP, abstract is something that you are supposed to be able to get, if not full marks, but close to full marks quite easily. It is worth 10 marks overall. So if you don't do this well, or you don't submit, don't have abstract at all, it would be a great loss. And I think it's really unfortunate and rather a lost opportunity on your part if you don't actually score marks or high marks for this. Okay, so that is abstract. Now, second thing, these are some of the technical aspect of the reporting that I would like to highlight when it comes to writing your or presenting your conceptual framework. Typically, students would have some kind of diagram to show the relationship between their variables. So this would be something for either or both conceptual framework and also theoretical framework. Now, what I would like to emphasize is when you put in any diagrams like this, do not simply copy and paste from books or images from any secondary sources. Again, I repeat, do not just simply copy and paste any tables or diagrams from other references. Redo the diagrams yourself. Okay, redo it. So when you redo it, of course, it doesn't have to be complicated. Conceptual framework, I would say, should be very simple. Just show in a diagram form what is your IV, independent variable, and on the other side, your dependent variable, and put in an arrow to it. If you want to break down your IV to specific reference to your research questions 1, 2, and 3, that's fine, right? But whichever the case, whatever the case when it comes to either or both conceptual framework and theoretical framework, whatever diagrams that you put in, please do not simply copy and paste, right? Redo the diagram yourself. In certain cases, where the diagram from the original source probably is a bit too complicated because there's so many additional factors here and there. So you simplify the diagram to a diagram that reflects more your research. So whatever other factors that may not necessarily be a focus of your research, you can, not put it. So you don't need to put everything. Just put in the factors or information that reflects your research. Okay, so please take note of this. Now, next we are looking into, this is more in reference to qualitative research. If you're doing interview or focus group discussion, do not reveal the identity of your respondents. So do not put in the real names of your respondents, either or both in the transcription of the interview or in the chapters itself. Always make reference to either an anonymous name, Jane Doe, John Doe, or just simply use some kind of code, P1, participant 1, or R1, respondent 1. If you have interviewed male and female, maybe you can say male respondent 1, female respondent 2. Okay, you do it like that because part of the challenge or the ethics when it comes to doing research is to protect the identity, personal information, and identity of your respondents. As we normally say when it comes to data collection, either interview or survey, whatever information that we collect or gathered from them ought to be for the sole purpose of the research, not to be used for other purposes and not to be exposed also to others. Right? So please be careful about this. Although practically speaking, we are not going to publish your research to the public or put this in any kind of public domain. But still, let's follow proper etiquette when it comes to doing research. Protect the personal information of your respondents. Right? Now, I think this is amongst the last point with regards to formatting, APA, right? APA formatting. I have given you, right? Don't tell me I have not. You guys, all of you over here took research methodology with me. We have come across examples, and I've given you also some references to APA Guide, 7th edition, 2020 edition. So follow that. Right, so I may not be looking into every single letters and full stop that you have in the list, but it must appear to be like an APA reference list formatting. Right, so one of the key things that you would see in the APA 7th edition is when it comes to any online journals, we ought to include also not just the primary information in the above, but also put in the DOI. DOI, if I'm not mistaken, stands for Digital Online Index or Identifier, sorry, Digital Online Identifier. So please make sure you have that. Normally, when you access the journal online, you will find the DOI mentioned, DOI is stated somewhere at the front page. So it could be like part of the header, or could be part of the footer, whichever the case, try to find that. If you cannot find, then it's okay. And maybe there are some journals that are uploaded there more in PDF copy. It's actually printed, there is no DOI. That's possible, but in most cases, I would say there should be a DOI. Now, like I said just now, we may not necessarily be looking into every single details, but it would be nice for all of you to be mindful of the details. This I can show you as an example of something which is although correct, but not necessarily entirely correct. And this one, Altaf H 2019, body image dissatisfaction, and so and so and so. Now, what is the mistake over here? Now, International Review Literary Studies, this is the title of the journal publication. Yes, it should be like this, italicized, and first letter of every word is in capital letters. And the first number is in italics, but the number in parentheses or the addition of the year, this one, number 2, this one, yes, should not be in italics. However, the mistake is over here. Body image dissatisfaction theory and its impact. This is the title of the research. Now, this one, by right, only the first letter of the first word is in capital letter. The rest of this should be in small caps, unless it is a proper noun. Proper noun like someone's name or name of a place, then yes, then you can put in capital letter for the first word. But when it comes to something like this, by right, you should follow the above example over here, differential media effects and male body satisfaction. You can see only D is in caps. The rest are all small caps. So these are some of the minor details, which, like I said, we may not be giving marks, or checking this, in a very precise manner, but would be nice for all of you to be more particular about following rules when it comes to formatting. As I always like to emphasize, part of the work that myself and all of you will be doing in the future, you'll be dealing with documents, you'll be dealing with writing reports and things like that. So you will have, certain kinds of template that you have to follow, formatting that you can follow. This is not the end of it, your FYP, although it's the end of your assignment, so to speak, in your undergraduate bachelor's degree journey. Doesn't mean that you will not be doing any other research or reports after this. So you will have that, definitely, being students or graduates, future graduates in communication and media studies, right? So please be mindful and, prepare yourself, be accustomed, be familiar with the idea of following proper formatting for any report that you do. Right, so we move on now to common errors with regards to language tenses. Okay, now, most common language error in language tenses is with regards to the use of future and past tense. Now, this is one example, abstract format, obviously not in compliance with the sample or the point I was mentioning just now. However, for this purpose or for this one, I would like to focus on that part that is highlighted in yellow. What's wrong over there? Now, this is an abstract submitted as part of the FYP report. So FYP report is submitted naturally or logically after the research has been done, true or not? So because the research has been done, so you shouldn't have at any part of your abstract or even in your chapter 3, later on I will show some examples, there shouldn't be any sentences that are written in future tense. It was in future tense when you write that in FYP1, or maybe if it's something that you incorporated from something you wrote earlier in your research methodology class, your research proposal, then yes, it was written in future tense because you haven't done yet, you haven't completed yet the research. But now when you're submitting for your FYP at the end of the semester, it should be at the point where everything has been done. It's just about reporting what you have done. So it's something that is in the past. So the language tenses in the abstract, right, for that relates to procedures, that relates to research methods that you followed or the people that you meet, should be written in past tense and not future tense. Right? So this is an error. Okay, this one is also an error or mistake because you can see over here, will be conducted, will be done, will be included. So not will anymore. It should be a survey was conducted. The survey the survey was distributed on the platform or using the platform Google Forms. So it should be explaining in that way, not in future tense anymore. However, there are instances where the use of future tense is not necessary, right? So I'll show you one example over here. This is wrong, right? Why are the things that I've highlighted over here past tense? It's wrong. Now, you can see over here, okay, this paragraph, the research applied quantitative methods, quantitative approach. Quantitative approach allowed a researcher to represent complex problems to variables and hypotheses and provided a summary of the findings. Now, why is this wrong for us to use past tense? It's wrong because this statement is a general statement to explain about the benefit of quantitative research. So it should not be using past tense. It should be using present tense. Why? Because if you write this, if you submit like this, it's past tense. It means what? It means that quantitative research in the past allowed researcher to do all of this, but now not more. Now maybe not so. Well, maybe now it's not necessarily the case. So that's not right. This is a general statement to explain about what is quantitative research. So any general statement explaining about the benefit or the objective for doing quantitative research or any particular research methods you are following, any general statements explaining about its benefit and procedure, that one should be in present tense because those statements, those arguments are still is still valid until today. It's not something that was, pushed aside, something that was done in the past, now it's not done anymore, right? So that's the context that you need to understand. Not everything 100% you follow or you change to past tense. Look into the context of the statement. You use past tense to explain what you have done, the procedures that you have done. But when you're explaining about why you are using quantitative or the benefit of quantitative research methodology or qualitative, you explain those general argument, that one should be in present tense because it remains a valid argument at this present time. Okay, so I hope you understand that. This is something which is wrong. A good example of something correct is like this. You can see, yeah? This study was conducted because explaining about what the researcher or the student had done. The study was conducted by adopting the qualitative method. However, when she explains about what is qualitative research, so you can see over here, according to Ahmad ETAL, qualitative research refers to an in-depth study, right? As stated over here also, qualitative method was selected because that refers to what she did. However, when it comes to explaining the benefit of qualitative method, you can see over here, it is beneficial in obtaining more detailed observation. You shouldn't be writing it was beneficial because it was beneficial means what? Beneficial in the past, not beneficial anymore. All right, so here is where you need to establish a bit some logical sense when you're explaining and writing about your report. What are the things that you can and should use past tense, and what are the ones that you need to write in present tense? Again, it's about the details of it. Right? These are some of the particulars that we are looking at when it comes to grading students, especially when it comes to differentiating or identifying FYP students potentially for the highest grades and those who are perhaps more average grades. These particular issues are the ones that normally differentiate between the ones that are really good and the ones that are just, average. So please be mindful of this and don't tell me that you do not know. Right? You read this yourself, and if you read through your own content, your own draft, and you will identify. Ask yourself whether it's logical to actually sound for it to sound like that. And if everything is all past tense, means that everything now is no longer true, and all these ideas about qualitative research is just in the past. It's no longer valid now. Right, so look into the context of it. In past tense, only explaining procedures, but in present tense, referring to arguments or explanations, justification about research methodology and anything that is similar to that. Okay, moving on to submission and viva, I will give you after this or later on this afternoon the whole detail of the timeline for this semester, but basically this is it. Submission to turn it in is on 24th of November, 2023. And then when it comes to the So when it comes to submission of the final full report, that one is to be submitted soft copy through email to your FYP coordinator. That will be me, your supervisor, and another one person, the assigned Viva panelist. So you submit to 3 people, to 3 of us. So the names and the listing, I'll be giving it to you later on. Deadline for submission, the final submission is on 1st of December 2023. Now, why do we submit on Turnitin earlier? The reason is we want to check your similarity score first. If there are any cases where the similarity index is very high, above 15%, then we may perhaps I may contact you personally and ask you to do certain changes before you submit the final report to your examiners. Now, so be mindful also of this fact. When you submit on Turnitin, you submit only chapters 1 until 5, not the entire thing. What do I mean by chapter 1 and chapter 5 only? This refers to starting from the first page of chapter 1 until the last page of chapter 5. That's it. You only submit that on Turnitin, right, by 24th of November. First page, chapter 5, last page until last page, first page, chapter 1 until the last page of chapter 5. All other parts of the report, cover page, table of content, abstract, reference list, appendix, no, there's no need to submit on Turnitin. This is just the content itself. Why? Because we want to minimize the highlights for similarity when it comes to the formatting issues or similar kind of content like the cover page, the abstract acknowledgement. So those things are quite similar on how you write that. There are certain keywords that are used or phrases that are very common. So we want to reduce that. So we focus only on the text. Now we have a bit of an added challenge now in this age of AI, artificial intelligence. The Turnitin will also give us a report with regards to AI generated content. Now, my general view when it comes to the use of AI softwares like ChatGPT and others, it's okay for you to use them for the purpose of drafting your report. Many of us do this also when it comes to any official report that we do now. We have the key points, we run it on ChatGPT. ChatGPT will help us to generate the draft. However, we not just simply submit like that. Of course, you need to look into ChatGPT can help you when it comes to drafting information, but you still need to read through every single one of it and also make changes to it so that it becomes factually consistent. The coherence of information is there. If the AI similarity index number that is given to us by Turnitin is very high. Now, what is very high? Very high would be above 30%. Then we may contact you and see, based on what is highlighted by Turnitin, what are the things that perhaps you need to paraphrase and resubmit later. Right, so those are all those things in terms of feedback about Turnitin, whether you need to resubmit or paraphrase something or make changes to certain section. That will be done in that week, in that 1 week between the submission of Turnitin and the submission of the final report. So that will be my role then as the FYP coordinator to check the to check the Turnitin report for every student and see whether there are any anomalies or any particular issues highlighted and flagged by Turnitin that we need to respond to. Okay, so I hope this is clear. First batch, Viva, it's not week 13, I think it's week 14, but I think this is something that can be discussed later. But the date as far as Viva, I'll show you after this. That's a tentative date. You can change that, definitely. But Turnitin ID, this one is the class ID and enrollable key for Turnitin ID submission for Turnitin ID for Turnitin submission of your FYP report. All right, so how do you submit? You submit first on Turnitin, not more than 15%. Anything which is still around below 20%, I'm still okay with that. But anything more than that, then normally I would still need to highlight something to the student, either before the Viva or during the Viva. And on certain cases, we may ask you to resubmit. Now, although stated over there, nowadays we no longer ask you to resubmit your resubmit your report after Viva. So what normally happens now is you submit your FYP report. After about 1 week, we arrange for the Viva presentation. So you present your FYP presentation, your Viva presentation, and then we will give you at the end of your presentation some comments and feedback about your FYP. Now, all those comments and feedback that we give you are just for discussion purposes, for you to take note, especially as a way to give you some inspiration and ideas about what can you do to how and what you can do better when it comes to doing other research in the future. So it's not going to be something that requires you to note down and then make changes and then resubmit. No more resubmission, right? Resubmission, however, would still be valid for certain special cases. Now, what are these special cases? Number one is a positive situation where the FYP report is considered to be very, very good. So we would like to process it or do something to it to make it even more better for the purpose of publications or for the purpose of seminar presentation outside. So in those cases, again, myself as the coordinator for FYP and maybe your other lecturers will contact you, and then we can discuss further about how we can improve further, enhance further certain part of the content of your FYP, and then we resubmit or reformulate it for the purpose of publication or seminar presentation outside. Now, the other special case is a negative or not so it's a negative situation, which is in the case where when you present and your FYP report also upon reading or examination of the panelists and examiners, we find there are some glaring errors. Now, what are glaring errors? Glaring errors would be most primary example would be certain sections are missing, like there's no theoretical framework or no perceptual framework at all, or your literature review is like 2 pages only, or your chapter 4 is only about 1 or 2 pages only and doesn't really answer your research question. So in those cases, we may not, we will give you a chance to make certain corrections, and we will give you time for about 2 weeks. Normally it's 2 weeks maximum, and then you resubmit to us so that we can still consider you to pass, because we don't want to become trigger happy, failing student too easily. We know that FYP is a culmination of work that you have done for 2 semesters, maybe more than that if you include your research proposal during RM. So because of that, we want to give you the chance, as much chance as possible, to clear the subject, right? So for those of you, based on what we see, what you submitted may not necessarily be enough for you to pass, we'll ask you to do these corrections. And in most cases, when these corrections are submitted or revised version of the report is submitted, we would pass you, and either with a grade of C or C+. Not possible for you to get anything higher than that, because everyone else submitted on time with all the proper content and everything else. So we grade you based on that, despite maybe some limitations and weaknesses to it. But when we give you second chance to resubmit, it's more to give you a chance to pass, right? So the window of opportunity for you to score well at that point will not be there anymore. It's more about trying to get through the subject. Okay, so I hope that is clear also. All right, next one, log sheets. Now, log sheets, as I mentioned before, during your briefing FYP1, you ought to do this for your meetings with your supervisor, but you keep that first during FYP1. So I will collect them at the end of your FYP. Before you go for your Viva, I will assign you to an online folder. You upload those log sheets into that online folder. Okay, so again, I would like to repeat the log sheets. You don't necessarily have to put in for every single meeting one specific one log sheet form, because we don't want to end up with too many log sheet forms also. So if you are meeting with your supervisor like multiple times in a month, you can combine all those meetings that happens in 1 month into one log sheet with multiple dates and also explanations and some general information about the things that you discuss with your supervisor in the column that is given. All right, so the link to the online folder, I'll be giving that to you later on when I release the schedule for presentation for Viva. So Viva presentation, this is the tentative date that we have so far, but we are thinking about doing it earlier, which I think is possible, but because submission is on the 1st of December. So let me see later on whether or not we are okay to actually do the presentation 1 week earlier on week 13. Because week 14, lecturers are also busy when it comes to marking their assignments and so on. So I'm thinking to actually do this a bit earlier. right? So, but this is a tentative date based on our standard schedule, but we are thinking about doing it a bit earlier so that we can settle this before the school break, and you can all have your end of the year break and holiday with a very peace state of mind, right? Peaceful state of mind, right? So any one of you who maybe for certain reasons would like to do early Viva, but keep hold of this first, right? So I said most likely we can do the Viva 1 week earlier compared to week 14, maybe week 13. But anyone wants to do it even earlier than that, I think that should not be possible, eh? In very yeah, the earliest I would say that if you can present, if you want to do for early submission, is to actually present on the day of submission itself, which is on 1st of December. But then that's not going to be fair to your lecturers who are examining your report, because we need to read first your FYP before we can follow your presentation and ask you questions. So I would say if anyone wants to do early Viva presentation, perhaps the Monday after this, on the 4th of December or 5th of December, it's still possible. But again, I will finalize the date for the Viva presentation later on. Now, when or how do we do the Viva? Nowadays, all Viva is done on campus, face to face, right? No more online presentations. So we are coming back to normal way of doing things. So please, be prepared to come to campus, even if you're not here when you're doing your research. Make sure you come back to do your Viva formality when it comes to appearance and dressing, dress code. Please, those details I will share later when we come to this point. All right, so what I normally do is when I release the schedule of your Viva presentation, I will release a table like this. So you will see your name, your ID, and then who is the assigned panelist for your Viva presentation. Your supervisor will be, of course, the main person to be there also. Other than that, for most presentation in which I am not the supervisor of anyone, I will be the panel number 1 by default. Right, so I will be panel number 1, and then panel number 2 will be assigned from among the lecturers that we have here in SCCA. Okay, so the session is normally 30 minutes each, and then you will present during that time for about 10 to 15 minutes. The rest will be allocated for Q&A. All right. If you need to apply for extension, you must request extension from your supervisor first. There is a form to be given. Maybe I can forward this again to all of you, and then submit this latest by week number 10. Of course, we do understand maybe on a couple of occasions there could be some emergency situation, either with yourself, your personal life, or maybe with your family. So, or medical issues also that may happen, and something that happened during that moment. So when it comes to any emergency situation, of course we can consider giving you extension. But in most cases, please follow the best as you can. The deadline that is given. You know this already. This is not something new. This is not new information to you in terms of how we do the FYP. You would see also the example of your seniors before this. So make sure you carry on what you need to do within the next few months that you have to complete your FYP. Don't leave things last minute, because your FYP, as I say, is the culmination of the journey that you have as a university student, and hopefully it can be a significant part of you eventually graduating and attending convocation over here. Not this year, obviously, right? All of you who are graduating after or finishing FYP this semester, doing internship next semester, so you will graduate next year, convocation next year, 2024. All right, so I do need to leave by 12:30, so let me cover this now very quickly about undergraduate seminar. Now, again, I would like to emphasize all of you here who are students, almost all of you over here are students who are under the new grading system, the WM grading system with A+, AA-, and so on. So you guys with the N code MBFP 3028N, you register for FYP2, yes, but you also should and you must register also for this subject called undergraduate seminar. Undergraduate seminar is MBFP, what? I'm sorry, MBCM 3031. So maybe I should put it over here. MBCM 3031. And okay, this is something that I need to really emphasize on this. This is something that you must do. Now, why is it that you must do this? Now, a backstory that whether Miss Susie, your program leader, has shared or not, maybe I need to emphasize this again. All of you who are following the ENCODE series of subjects, you take this particular NPU subject called GSR, Global Social Responsibility, which carries 2 credit hours. Now, students in the past, before they follow the new grading system, they took the subject NPU, the different one called which is they didn't take GSR, they take CSR. CSR refers to corporate social responsibility. Now, CSR, GSR, what is the main difference in terms of the subject structure? CSR, corporate social responsibility, is 3 credit hours. Okay, it's 3 credit hours. However, GSR, Global Social Responsibility, is only worth 2 credit hours. So because of that, your study plan suddenly becomes 1 credit hour less. Now, your programs have just enough number of credit hours for you to graduate with a bachelor's degree according to the requirement regulation set by the Ministry of Higher Education, which is 120, right? 120, right? So minimum 120. So if you don't do anything and just take GSR 2 credit hours, so students in the past of CSR 3 credit hours, so you have 1 credit hour less, 119, so you cannot graduate. So how we handle that, because this was a move that was made for the entire institution, so we need to find ways on how to increase or maybe add 1 credit hour somewhere. So over here in SCCA, we decided to introduce this 1 credit hour subject called undergraduate seminar, which is not necessarily a subject in terms of you go to class, you need to learn something or anything. No, it's basically just a class that we have created for 1 credit hour where you prepare an academic portfolio, present this in a seminar, and then in that seminar, there will be some kind of feedback and questions that is given from attendees that are invited from our industry partners and also our former students and alumni members. So the seminar will be done later. So I would like to explain a bit in terms of what are the requirements. Now, in terms of the course itself, is designed to highlight individual achievements of students through a formal academic portfolio that presents their main body of work throughout their undergraduate studies. So the keyword over there is academic portfolio. So you need to understand then what do we mean and what are the things that you need to put in this particular academic portfolio presentation. All right. Now, academic portfolio, how we mark you when it comes to undergraduate seminar, 75% comes from the portfolio document that you submit, and presentation is done later. So we are doing the presentation later, right? During the time in January, we'll do it online because we know at that point, maybe many of you have already started your internship. So we'll arrange the presentation online, either on Friday afternoon or Saturday morning, where you will present in a formal online seminar setup, and there will be Q&A and discussion given by our panelists about your experience and so on. However, what you put in your document is basically, in terms of the format, right? It depends whether you want to use PowerPoint straightforward or you want to use something else, it's okay, but basically it should feature about 10 to 20 slides or panels if you're using something else. Right, so this is the submission deadline, 20th December. Presentation is in January, date to be announced later. Now, what do you put in the portfolio? First of all, you put in your personal information. Now, academic portfolio basically is an extended CV, right? But it's not just CV as in put in writing, but should be added with some pictures or some multimedia content that explains your body of work. But the first thing, obviously, is something similar to what you put in your CV, personal information, biographical details, personal summary, professional summary, and skills. So if you're thinking about what do you mean, or what I mean by professional summary, you click into these websites, or you can click also the term or search for the term professional summary and see basically how people have explained their professional summary, normally in one short paragraph, about 3 or 4 sentences, to explain what is your background and your goals in terms of professionally what you want to achieve. In most cases, when it comes to fresh graduates, you put something like a fresh graduate in communication media studies who aspires uh, uh, to create a revolution in the media industry, right? So things like that. Of course, be realistic also. Don't put big words and bombastic words over there. It becomes rather unrealistic. So you should explain something specific in terms of what you want to achieve in what area and what are the specific interests that you may have. Or you may want to cover also specific skills that you may have. So that one should be there also. Right, so you can look into the example of the LinkedIn article over here to look into what are the examples of hard and soft skills that are in demand in the industry today, and would be nice for you to refer to that information and put in those that applies or relates to you. Okay, so that's the first part of the portfolio. Second is FYP. So you need to put in about 1 or 2 slides explaining about your FYP. Why? Because FYP is, like we always say, it's the final project in your biggest independent original work that you do during your bachelor studies. So put it over there, but not everything, not in detail like what you do in your Viva presentation, just briefly in terms of the objectives, main findings, conclusion, and recommendations. So this should be in about 1 or 2 slides only. In addition to that, what we are requiring you to do is this. Right, so I would say when it comes to putting in the information for the final year project section of the portfolio, you refer to your abstract and a bit in terms of your chapter 1 research objectives and the summary information that you have in your chapter 5. So those would be the main reference. You put in some kind of summary over here as part of your final year project component for this particular undergraduate seminar. The other things that you need to do is, and this is something that we are encouraging students to pay attention to, whatever project that you do throughout your studies over here is not just for the purpose of submitting it for marks and grades. Obviously, that's the practical benefit of doing it. But other than that, beyond what you have done, beyond the assessment and the grades that you get, it also represents your body of work and experience that you have gathered and acquired throughout your studies over here. So because of that, we would like you to pay attention to identify 3 to 5 of your most outstanding final projects and present that also, put that also as part of your portfolio. Okay, now we put it over here. Students who have completed 70% of the internship could put in internship experience as part of as part of the academic project component. However, I don't think this would apply to any one of you because internship, you guys are only starting next semester around January. So, and we don't want to postpone your grades for undergraduate seminar too late. So I think internship experience would not be applicable for all of you anymore. This was applicable more for the first batch of students because we had delayed the execution of the undergraduate seminar a bit later. So they had already gone for their internship. So we told them that you can put in internship experience over there. But in your case, and all of you this semester, I think you cover only your assignments. So you refer back to your final projects that you have done. Now, a question that has been asked before is, what do you mean by outstanding final projects? Now, outstanding, obviously, the main criteria you can look at is the grades and marks that you get at the end for that final project. But the challenge with that is, I know in almost all cases, you do not know the marks that you got for your final project, isn't it? You know your final grade. So that can be a criteria that you're looking at. And what if also, some of you have asked me, or some students have asked me, the final projects are group work, so it doesn't represent my individual capability. So my answer to that overall, when it comes to what do you choose as part of the 3 or 5 outstanding final project, is totally up to you. It's a subjective choice for you to make. Marks and grades that you get for that subject or for the assignment or the project itself is not necessarily the most important, right? What is more important is what you feel you benefited from and you feel very satisfied about yourself, your contribution for those assignments that you have selected for the purpose of this academic portfolio presentation. Remember, one of the practical benefit of doing academic portfolio is when you are going job hunting, right? If your interviewer is asking you about what you have done so far, what did you learn, what did you do during your studies, then you can show this is what I've done. This is the academic portfolio that presents some of the major or outstanding work that I've done throughout my studies. So So it should, in a way, help you to boost your image in terms of what you have gathered, what you have done during your studies that can help you practically when it comes to finding jobs in the industry. So I would say highlight projects and assignments that are of more, that arguably you can say more practical for the purpose of job hunting. So because of that, if anyone wants to put in this section, your assignment, your final project over here, referring to example from MPU subject, probably not very suitable, but could be, right? There are some MPU final projects that you do that I think is pretty nice. GSR especially, right? So I think that one is something nice. So I think you can put that as one of the academic projects for this component, but do not put in. I say this very clearly. Do not put in all three. If you're presenting only three academic projects, all three are MPU. That would not be good. Okay, that would not be, in a way, sensible also to represent who you are as someone who have completed a program or about to complete a program in communication studies. So make sure if you want to have MPU, I would say that will be additional, right, to the three that you have. Right, it could be like the subject number 4 or number 5, but the main ones I would say should focus on your uh, specialization courses. I think that would be the most fundamentally the rational choice to have. Core courses could be also some of the theoretical courses like communication law. I think could be done as well. But communication law is no final project, isn't it? They have final exam. So look into all those things. And these are the things that I know. There could be certain issues that you are not clear about. Please, if you have any further questions or if you want to maybe draft out what are the components and details that you want to have in your portfolio, you want to discuss or show them or run through with me, go ahead. Please do that. I'll be more than happy to try and to make this a win-win arrangement on your part. You are doing this for something practical that you can use later on for job application process or during interview or selection process you go through after you graduate. On our part, we set up something for you to fulfill two things. Number one is fulfill the requirement for 1 credit hour that is needed for you to graduate, and the other one is to see an example of body of work that you have done. And based on what you submit, that you submit to us in your academic portfolio, we can also refer to that as one a source of feedback for us to think about what are the areas of improvement that we can do in the future. Okay. Right. So an additional component of the portfolio is to put in personal achievements. So this is optional. You can put in any brief information about academic or non-academic achievements in co-curriculum activities, clubs and societies, sports competition, and so on. So this could be anything. More like, again, if you are trying to present yourself in terms of your professional background, would be nice also to put in some information that explains to others about your personal achievements and your personal interests and hobby, right? So this would be something that you can put, but not many, right? Don't go on and have like the academic component just now. Academic projects is covered everything in 1 or 2 slides only, and your personal kind of thing is like 10 slides. So that doesn't make sense, and it doesn't achieve the purpose and objective of what we have for the undergraduate seminar. Okay. So the seminar will be done online on January 2024, most likely during week number 2. But again, that will be something that we can discuss further. If there is a firm request by the majority of you to do this even earlier in December, I think we may consider that. But in most cases, the plan or what we have planned now is to actually do this a bit later for the purpose of arranging this into a proper seminar setup. So that means we need to make arrangements to invite people from the industry, from our industry advisory panel, and also our alumni to come, view and watch your presentation and provide you feedback in terms of how perhaps you can improve the way that you present yourself, your portfolio, your body of work, and they can share also their experience working in the industry, if they have been involved in selection process, what are examples of the things that they look for mass comm or communication graduates, what kind of attributes and skill set that they are looking at. And our alumni can also share their experience about what kind of things that are really beneficial on your part. And it could be feedback also for us in terms of how we can improve the way that we plan and execute projects and assignments for students. Okay, so these are a few recommended references. Like I said, I will be giving you later on the slides, both for this undergraduate seminar and also for the FYP2 slides that I presented just now. Now, I would like to make this again very clearly, right? Those of you who are registered under FYP2 end code, right? End code is MBFP 3028N. MBFP 3028N, you must register for undergraduate seminar also. Okay, because so far, out of the 15 students I have registered in FYP2, only 7 are registered in undergraduate seminar. There are still there are 8 of you who have not registered in undergraduate seminar yet. So please check, but if you don't mind, let me just call out the names of those who are registered in FYP2 but have not registered for undergraduate seminar. Jasmine, Alpha Zero David, Silokana Sibakuma, Aina Farhana, Eugene Ong, Alison Cindy, Carmen Yap, Ching Yanji. You guys are registered in FIP2, yes, but are not registered yet for undergraduate seminar. Please register for that 1 credit hour subject. Okay. Is it closed already? Can you do? I thought today is the last day for late registration. Is it not? Can someone confirm you can't do registration anymore? So if you cannot, then please write to Miss Susie. Then Miss Susie will need to communicate with A and B to manually add you into undergraduate seminar. Again, I would like to emphasize you must take this subject. Those of you who are MBFP 3028N N code, that applies to almost all of you. There are only 2 students I know who are registered under the old coding, old subject code system. So that one, from that intake, you don't need to take undergraduate seminar. But the rest of you, you have to take. If you don't take, then you will not have enough credit hours to graduate. Okay. Is the Viva presentation in person? Yes, you present individually to 3 of us, your supervisor, panel number 1, which is normally me, and another assigned examiner. Okay. Log sheets, yes. Can you merge all monthly log sheets into one file? Yes, you can. Right? Or you can put in all meetings that you have in 1 month, the same month, into one log sheet form. But summarize things. Right? We don't want, honestly, I mean, none of us, myself, especially as the coordinator, I won't have time to read the details of your log sheet discussion. What is the purpose of the log sheet? It is for us to have some kind of evidence that the supervision process has happened. That's the purpose. Right? That's the practical sole purpose of the log sheet, and for us to have some kind of records that you have consulted with your supervisor, and your supervisor also has, in a way, done his or her job, meeting you and trying to help you and guide you during your FYP journey. Okay, so it's not about having that many forms. It's about having a record. So I've said before, you can combine in one form all the meetings that you have in 1 month, no matter how many meetings that you have. Unless, of course, you really feel there is a need, you want to separate the forms, and it's okay. It's not wrong to do that. It's just that I'm trying to make things easy for everyone. You can combine the multiple dates of meetings in the same one into one log sheet form. Okay, anything else? Okay, sorry, 12:33. I do need to go now. I will later on forward to all of you the slides I've used, both for FYP2 and also for the undergraduate seminar. And I will give you also the details of the timeline for this semester for FYP submission. So please look into that. And if there are any of your friends who are not here today, please ask them later on to view this recording so that they don't make the kind of mistakes, common errors I've shown just now. At the same time, also, they do not miss taking undergraduate seminar. again, I would like to emphasize, you don't register or don't clear undergraduate seminar, you won't be able to graduate. You will have 1 credit hour less. So we are trying to help you to do something which is straightforward, but at the same time, it is adding value to your experience upon or towards the end of your studies over here. You do this academic portfolio will help you by providing some kind of professional feedback on the work that you have done. And hopefully that can be a good learning process towards the end of your journey as a student, right? Embarking and planning for the next step of your life, finding jobs and, and working and contributing into the industry. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm sorry I won't be able to entertain any more questions now. It's already 12:34. I need to go now. Thank you very much for coming. I'll forward the recording also for all of you for your reference. If there are any questions, you can always email me or come and see me. We'll help each other and see how best we can do this. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Take care. Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.